Hello again, friends! McFarlane's finally got the DC Toys license, and I'm so excited to open up my first figure from them. It's Superman! Here is Superman out of the packaging, and first impressions are he looks pretty good. I mean, I remember Mattel took forever to give us a normal-looking Superman when the DC Universe Classics line was going on, and McFarlane was just like, nope, Superman, one of the very first figures in the very first waves. Now, Sculpt on the head looks pretty great. He's a little angry looking for my taste, but I mean, that definitely looks like Superman. The hair looks great. He's got the little spit curl. No real complaints. I love the little, I don't know, the texture of the skin. It looks like how he's drawn a lot. And then the costume, it's got little seam lines in it here and there. The S is raised and sculpted. It's so nice. And oh, I love that S shield. Rubbery diaper for the trunks, it looks like. Love the musculature here. It gets a little bit weird at the elbows and the knees in particular. Maybe because of how they implemented the articulation, but I don't know, his knees just look weird to me. And then it's more like the joint, it's too low, but then those are minor. The sculpt on the hands though, those hands look like mashed potatoes. They look so weird. Ugh. And then are these supposed to be flying pose hands? Because they're just kind of loosely relaxed hands. I mean, and then they just look so mushy, like mashed potatoes or something, like cream corn hands. What's with the lumpy? Lumpy, that's it. They're so lumpy. That's really weird. I don't know. But overall, sculpt on the body, I like it a lot. They even sculpted the little boots, the little M's there. It's all raised, sculpted details. They didn't cheap out. Sculpted the belt loops on the trunks. And then my favorite part, it's got to be the cape. That cape looks so beautiful, the sculpt on it. And it's like a rubbery, flexible material too. The cape's one of my favorite things. It's probably the main reason I bought this figure, honestly. Sculpt on the hands could be a lot better. Rest of the figure, pretty darn good. Paint's also really good. Face is clean. Eyes are blue. It might be pretty hard to tell, but they are. And it looks like they're printed on, but it's done so well. I think this is one of the best printed face technology things I've ever seen. Hair is just flat black. Would have been nice to get a blue wash in there, but I don't know. I like how glossy it is. It's really good. Speaking of glossy, the red on the S is super shiny and metallic-y looking. I love that, but that is the only place you see that shiny red on Superman. The rest of it's just very matte red. Perfect blue on his costume. Yellow on the belt and the inside of the S. No complaints with the paint. Everything is the right color and no slop at all. A+ on that paint job, McFarlane. Good job. So articulation is the big question. Packaging said 22 parts that move. We'll see what that is like. The head. A Superman that can kind of look up. Not fully. I mean, imagine a flying pose, right? He can't quite look up. At least he's looking up a bit more than any figure Mattel made. So slight improvement, I guess. But he does get side to side, really good side to side. That's a big improvement from Mattel. And he can go all the way around, of course. He can look down a little. I don't know, it's just kind of mushy, unfortunately, on the head. Shoulders look like they have butterfly joints, and it didn't seem like they did at first, but they're just really stiff, and they don't get much range, honestly. Maybe if I move the ball joint and the arm up. Oh, it's so ratchety. Man, these joints are stiff and ratchety. Nope, doesn't seem to get any further range. That's it for the butterfly joints. But I guess that's 1, 2, 3 so far, and then sort of a ratchety ball joint in the shoulder that can go all the way around, and a bicep cut. Single hinged elbows. Now these are sort of a big problem because they have these weird little lines when you bend it too far. That looks really odd, but I mean, whatever. And it looks like the joint's kind of low. I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then we get to the wrists. There are these ball peg hinge joints, and I kind of like them. They're big enough that he can get a good amount of range. Wow, look at that. But of course that kind of looks unnatural, right? And then if you want to get lateral movement, you can't unless you move the ball first and then do it. So that's kind of, inconvenient, but at least the range is kind of there. The torso is on a ball joint, gets side to side at the diaphragm there, and then also at the waist there's another ball, so double ball joint basically, and gets pretty good side to side with it. Front and back, pretty decent. I don't know. It's certainly better than anything Mattel did with their ab joints, I guess. And they can both swivel all the way around. Not that you really need to do that. The hips are not on ball joints, actually, but they can go so far forward, decent range, and not too far back, but thankfully there's a rubber diaper there, so I mean, it's not really limiting their flexibility, and they can go out so far, so we can do pretty good splits. And then if you look up there, you can see the scheme, the articulation scheme is this weird swivel hinge on top of another swivel hinge. It's really freaky, and it doesn't look like they get swivels on the thighs, but guess what? They do just a bit, and then you move it out further, and they do a bit more. However, I must caution you, see that C-shaped piece of plastic that goes around this big cylinder? That thing can slide off pretty easily, so, I mean, that's not exactly good. And then the knees, they look funky, and I think the knee joint is probably my least favorite joint, because if you just bend the leg naturally, it bends at the bottom one, since this top one is so tight, and then that just looks, oh, see how easily that leg pops off, McFarlane? That's not good. That's not good at all. Thankfully, you can just snap it back on, though. Now, as I was saying, it naturally bends at the lower half of the double knee joint, and that just looks so weird to me. So you really gotta bend it all the way if you want to get the top one moving at all. And then on top of that, I just think the knee joint is like, it's just too long, really, honestly. It's kind of weird. There's nothing at the boot. Boot's just sculpted on. And then same weird ball hinges you got at the wrists, you get at the feet, only they're really big here. But I kind of appreciate that because it gives him more range. But like, same issue. Like, if you want to get his foot moving one way, you can't do it unless you move that ball first, move the foot, hold it in place in the case of this guy, move it back, and then move it. There we go. You can eventually do it, but you have to like move the ball in the hip yourself. Or not the hip, the ankle, but you know what I mean? And then finally, articulated toes. That's really nice. So, I mean, overall, articulation could be better, I think. Like, why aren't there double elbows? This is too ratchety. The butterfly joints are practically useless, and it's a Superman that can't look up. So overall, I'm not really pleased, but I mean, I guess it is a marginal step up from what Mattel was doing. So, not bad, McFarlane. Could be better. So here's Superman's packaging we saw earlier a little bit. It says DC Multiverse, which is kind of weird because that's the same line name that Mattel used. And then it says Superman, that's the character here. Up here it says 22 moving parts. But in the other languages, it's totally saying points of articulation. So whatever, it's 22 points of articulation. We know how much they really are. And over here it says McFarlane Toys. Got the little Spawn logo. Ages 12 and up. I don't know, prefer ages 17 and up, whatever. So Superman over there. Got some artwork from Action Comics 1000 and artwork for other figures you can get, but I'm not really going to get them because none of them really interest me too much. Even this Superman was kind of a stretch, honestly. And then it says Superman again, Action Comics 1000. Anyways, let's open it up. Gonna cut some tape here. Some cool blue comic book artwork. It's like Batman and Robin over there and some kind of cape. Is that? Oh, in there is Batman drawn by Todd McFarlane. Funny enough. That's really cool. And, let's see. I see a bunch of other classic artwork. A lot of Batman, World's Finest Comics, Batman, Robin, and Superman. Probably a lot of stuff. Don't see any like Wonder Woman or stuff. A lot of Batman, Superman. That's what it looks like Todd McFarlane's line is going to be, too. Unfortunately, the only way to get these accessories out is to rip this blister off the back. That part could be done a lot better. Let's see, these alternate hands just pop on out, I think. Good. And Superman has this double thick sock tie thing around his waist here. Let's try and get that out. Whoa. Okay, thankfully that was the only twist tie, but unfortunately, even though there's a huge hole in the plastic for it, that cape is having a hard time coming through. You gotta like fold it up or cut the plastic or something. There we go. Finally, Superman's free. This could be a bit more easy, McFarlane, but thankfully there's not too many twist ties, so pretty good packaging. For accessories, Superman gets 2 alternate hands there, a flight stand that requires a little bit of assembly, and then this weird trading card artwork thing that's trash. That's trash. Looking at the hands, the alternate right one is this trigger finger hand, which is stupid because Superman would never hold anything like a gun. And then the left one's a fist. Now, I don't know what these hands are supposed to be, but they're clearly not like flying hands, like, the hands like totally flat like that. So what gives McFarlane? I mean, Superman's easy. 2 fists, 2 flying hands. That's what the people want. And give us these weird mashed potato-y looking hands. Just relaxed grip. They're kind of weird, but thankfully they come off the peg super easy. And we'll pop the alternate hands on. And Superman has a fist. Yay! And a trigger finger hand. Boo. Better to get 4 hands than just 2 though, I guess, so whatever. The stand here has a base with the DC logo on it, which is kind of nice, and then it doesn't really have much articulation. Like, there's no articulation in the big arm here. It's just the little clasping joint at the top can move like up and down like that, and then you can open and close, and it doesn't swivel around at all, so it's kind of troublesome. Let's see what we can get Superman into on it. I think this is how you're meant to use that figure stand, just sort of get that clasping joint around his waist and get him into a hovering pose. Only trouble with it is it's kind of wobbly, but I mean, well, it doesn't really matter after a long period of time. Let me see if I can get him into like an actual flying pose. Kinda. I mean, unfortunately he can't look up, so I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, I would have appreciated some more articulation, but I guess that would have hurt the stability of the arm. I kind of appreciate it. You can also take that arm off, and there's a peg hole there for just being used as a normal base. So, I mean, certainly better than anything Mattel ever gave us with a Superman figure. And at the same price point, too. 10 years ago, Mattel, you couldn't give us a base with a Superman figure? What good was it? I mean, McFarlane's not perfect, but they definitely are doing better overall when it comes to accessories and sculpt and stuff like that. And scale, too, because Superman stands at about 7¼ inches tall, which means McFarlane is totally going for the 7-inch scale and trying to one-up NECA that way. Which means he fits in a bit better with DC Direct and NECA figures. There's the NECA Superman on the right. I don't have the SDCC exclusive one from the Alien 2-pack. That's just the old comic book one, which I like. But he's way out of scale for any of your 6-inch stuff like Marvel Legends or DC Universe Classics. All right, let's get Spider out in here and put in DC Universe Superman! That is pretty cool. It's not a bad figure from McFarlane overall, but a bit disappointing, unfortunately. The sculpt, I think, is overall really good. I love the paint. Paint's pretty much perfect, but some wonky choices in articulation really make the figure fall short for me. Like, can we just get some normal hinge and swivel stuff in the ankles and the wrists, kind of, and have him look up? A Superman that can kind of look up, and then the accessories is just ridiculous. Like, the flight stand's not the best, and you can't, and then he doesn't look up, so it's kind of pointless too. That's a big gripe with me. I mean, Mattel never made a Superman that could actually look up, and now you're gonna do the same thing, McFarlane? Really? And then the trading card's useless. Nobody wants that thing. And then the worst part of the accessories is the hands. Superman gets a trigger finger, 2 flying hands, 2 fists, McFarlane. This is not shaping up to be a bold new era of DC figures, unfortunately, but it's decent enough. It's sort of like the DC movies. They're decent enough. They're not good, but they're decent. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.